Welcome back to The Line. It's always a bit dangerous to rely on a promise, especially when that promise is more like hope. Hope that an oil boom won't go bust, which is what's happening with the financial freefall brought on by the COVID-19 outbreak. That, as the governor had until Wednesday to sign the budget. In all, she vetoed or line item vetoed more than $150 million in planned spending. And Dan, we heard Republicans and some Democrats, like John Arthur Smith, warning about a downturn, almost begging for line item vetoes. That doesn't happen much, but there seems to be some agreement so far. Now that we have those budget line item vetoes are in, I haven't heard much squawking after the fact. What's your sense of it and how she did with this?
I think it's still pretty much in flux.
Okay.
Nobody really knows whether this dip in oil prices is kind of a blip,
right,
or if it's going to last for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And the state may have to make some real adjustments if this is a broader downturn.
Yeah, there was a sense that everyone, because it was a transportation bill that got cut first, that $50 million, that everyone's going to get touched a little bit, that no one's going to be no favoritism, that kind of thing. Is that holding so far? Is that working out in that way at least?
Well, I think people are certainly upset to lose, road funding and things like that throughout the state. Mm-hmm. I think the governor is definitely, the tone has changed since the end of the session even, right, that New Mexico needs to be more cautious about its spending, and I think she took some action. She probably cut more things now than she would have, say, a week ago.
That's a good point there, exactly. Andy, I mentioned John Arthur Smith, of course. He's been quoted heavily because that's the person we sort of want to hear from in these situations. Your sense of where he's coming from on this? He's made a couple of interesting quotes out there.
Yeah, I don't think anything that he's said so far should be that much of a surprise. He's sort of the bellwether, so to speak. Every session, he's the one that stands up and says, whether things are good or bad. He never actually says that things are great.
Not good.
It's just better than it was before. But so I mean, it's just sort of on repeat that he's like, kind of I told you so.
That's right. Yep. Merritt, I can't help but ask. There were so many Republicans that felt that we were overspending this past session. Were they right after all?
Absolutely, and then I thought this week, oh my gosh, what a break we caught. Oil just tanked, but she's got a line item veto, and this is the time we can make this right. And I have to say, while I was pleased with her response from a state responding to a pandemic, I couldn't be more disappointed with her line item vetoes. The obvious target was the investment fund for child development. That could be put off a year. By cutting infrastructure projects, which is where all the cuts came from, those are job creators, like right now. Right. And we're going to be losing jobs in the oil patch. That is a true thing. We're going to be losing jobs in hospitality. And this would have been a way to create some job growth. So I was really shocked by that, and also by kind of the paucity of the cuts. Because this isn't deep economic analysis, this is arithmetic. You read the Albuquerque Journal, the story was yesterday. Every dollar drop in the price of oil per barrel is a $22 million impact on our reserves.
That's right.
And it just dropped $30.
That's right. That's right. The math is not hard.
Sorry,
That's
$20. Let me correct that, but $20, and so we cut $150 million. That doesn't come anywhere close to bridging that gap. So I was very disappointed.
I appreciate your point about the early childhood stuff. We're talking $300 million plus.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Wait for a year.
Exactly right. Is it any sense that a special session would in fact have a possibility of happening if this thing continues to go on that same track financially?
Well, they'll have to. We have a balanced budget amendment. So if we can't meet our requirements, we'll have to rebudget.
Yeah. Let me go back to John Arthur Smith for a second. Sure. He had made a point about reoccurring expenses as well, not just line item stuff that seems pretty easy and it's very targeted. You can see where it's going. But the big monies and stuff that kind of happens all the time, that's a different sort of a conversation, though, isn't it? That would be a little bit tougher to have.
It is a different conversation. It is a tougher conversation. It is. I think it is further down the road. There is still some optimism that that the oil markets will recover. That everything will recover. I mean, it's impossible to sort of list out all of the things that are being negatively impacted right now. I think there is still some hope there. So to Merritt's point about are we going to have a special session, I think it's very possible because I think we are going to have to revisit this at some point in the near future.
Yeah. Pick up on that if you would as well, the idea of reoccurring costs and where John Arthur Smith might be coming from here. We're trying to interpret for him so as we sit here certainly, but your sense of that.
Yeah, those are really difficult choices to make, and the governor's line item veto power is not, well, she cannot change numbers necessarily. She can strike out a whole number, but I mean, you do wonder if the session had happened a little later, maybe instead of 4% raises, people might be getting 2 or 3.
Right.
And you're right; those ongoing costs are the ones that the state will have to take a closer look at if this broader oil market downturn and the economic disruption, kind of hits the state hard. They are going to have to start looking at things like that.
Yeah. Pick up as well, and Andy, I want you to jump on this one too. But we do have a bump in our reserves, and that was done by design this past session. We've got what felt like at first a good amount of money, but everything has changed and doesn't have the same feeling, the reserves now. Your sense of that one too, where John Arthur Smith's coming from and others, on whether we have enough or not to tide us over.
Well, the state is up to, I think, roughly 25% in reserves. It will kind of depend a bit on, we're in one fiscal year and then we're going to hit another fiscal year starting July 1st. So,
Right.
so we got multiple years to deal with, and it's kind of confusing. But there's 1.7 billion-ish, I think, available projected in reserves, and it's roughly 25% of the recurring spending. I can tell you, coming out of the downturn in 2015, 2016, reserves were almost completely exhausted.
Oh, no
So,
kidding.
so 25% is a huge turnaround.
Yeah.
But even that, some people are concerned it may not be enough.
Exactly right. Again, you have to think back, and during this session, it was pretty genius to kind of peel away some of the oil boom out there and do it in reserves and be prudent about it. And look where we are now. It was a great way to go.
Yeah, I think, look, reserves are always coming up in every session, and I think another part of this, in my opinion at least, is that when you switch from a Republican, fiscal conservative Republican governor to a Democrat sometimes, and we saw this with going from Gary Johnson to Bill Richardson, right? So all of a sudden you have this money and then it spends, and it's sort of like overcorrecting. Somebody comes in and cuts everything. So the reserves are always going to be some sort of conversation in there of, what do we squirrel away for a rainy day? What is a rainy day? And where do we get that money from?
That's right. Your sense of a special session as well. What do you think on that?
I hate to speculate whether it would come down or not, but I think Merritt mentioned that we'll guaranteed one if we don't have a balanced budget.
Yeah.
We saw that, I believe, a couple of years ago under Martinez, where they were forced to have a special session because they didn't have a balanced budget.
And then that conversation would be very interesting if, in fact, if it does happen. Then we're into a whole different conversation, depending on what's going on in the economy, certainly, about who, what, where, when. You know what I mean? What you just brought up
Exactly.
earlier.
And I think what we have to be looking at with the oil industry, the cut in oil prices is only partially impacted by COVID-19. It's also a war between Saudi Arabia and Russia.
That's right.
And Russia has targeted the Permian Basin. Russia does not want us producing. So there's a lot more to this. And so I think a special session may have to come to pass. And I definitely think the easy button, if you will, would be early childhood.
We'll see what happens there. This group will handicap the results of New Mexico's pre-primary conventions when we return. After a quick break, we're talking taxes with experts who say they can help you get what's coming to you in a good way this tax season.